Hello, everybody, and this is an odd one. We are back. This is possibly the greatest return ever in the history of pro wrestling podcasts.
Oh yeah.
This is the Pro Wrestling Power Hour. We've been away for a while. So
have.
if you don't know who we are, my name is Jordan, and that over there is my friend Luke, and we are just two normal guys that like wrestling, basically. We started this channel a little while ago, and then I think Luke, you sort of fell off of wrestling for a little bit.
Yeah, it was a combination of we couldn't find the same time to record. And
because we
I
do have other podcasts, of course.
We have other podcasts. We both have full-time jobs. I have a dog that needs looking after. Stuff and things happened. And I didn't. I can't. It was for a couple of weeks. It actually wasn't that long in the end. It was only a couple of weeks, but I just kind of didn't have the time to really pay attention to any wrestling, and I just kind of was like, I don't really care. And then Malachi Black popped up on AEW,
and that got you back in, right?
Yes. Yeah, it did. It absolutely did. Malachi Black is the pinpoint of me coming back.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people are going to be into AEW very soon, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So why don't we talk about, because we have kind of changed what we want to do with this podcast.
Yes.
So why don't we let people know what we're going to do from now on?
Yeah, so basically we were doing it once every couple of weeks, and we were doing kind of topic-based. But that can run dry pretty quick. You could run out of things to talk about. So we're flipping it slightly. It's going to be a casual review kind of thing of each week's AEW.
Yeah.
And AEW... Rampage, and then we will do WWE pay-per-views and NXT pay-per-views if NXT is still around, because it sounds like some stuff might be happening with them.
Yeah.
But basically, it's AEW based because they're the only ones we can watch weekly, up to date. NXT is a week ahead. You have to watch a week behind, and there's no point, making content about that.
And then with the main show, WWE
it's
stuff,
like 3 months or something, isn't it?
It's just, if you're watching it on the network, it's really far behind. And even if you're not, it's just like, it's ridiculously hard to keep up with all this wrestling. I do, to be fair, but even that is a chore sometimes.
I mean, if I had it my way, this would be AEW and NXT.
Yeah.
Because I'm a big fan of NXT,
and I also think the nice thing about us doing AEW is, to be honest, there aren't many AEW focused channels right now. So you've got the great guys over at Cultaholic or What Culture Wrestling as well.
Wrestle
Talk. They all do great stuff. Go and check them out. They are channels that both of us follow and listen to.
Yeah.
But we just kind of felt like we should do something a bit different, focus on AEW, and do the pay-per-views of WWE when necessary, because their pay-per-views are actually still great. Let's give them some credit.
Yeah, their weekly is terrible, apart from like the odd bit like Roman Reigns or when Daniel Bryan was still around.
They seem to have one or two odd, very good storylines.
Yeah, and it's kind of good despite them. It's not good because they've intended it to be. It's good despite, Roman Reigns is good because he turned heel, and it turns out he's actually dope when he's just playing himself turned up a little bit. Like,
yeah. But I think basically, to summarize, we just kind of didn't have time to do what we were doing before. This is going to be a little bit different, and people might say, oh, well, how can you go from kind of every other week to every week? The reason we can do it every week is because we're doing something different, and we don't have to think of a topic.
Absolutely.
And it should be a little bit more focused. You may still get some topic stuff from time to time.
Yeah, there'll probably be like an extra one thrown in when WWE release another 20 people, or when Daniel Bryan shows up, or something like that.
For sure. And I think the plan for when these episodes will go out is they will basically go out the Wednesday, the week after the 2 episodes that we are reviewing.
Yeah, so it'll be in between last week's Dynamite. Essentially, because Rampage is coming up. And, now is a good time to start doing these again, because Rampage is Friday.
Yes, Rampage is on
which
Friday,
I'm very,
and
very looking forward to.
we've obviously got Dynamite on Wednesday as ever.
Hmm.
But I think that a lot of people are interested in AEW right now because they have a lot of cool things going on, right?
As they should be. As they should be.
Um,
And I think it's a little bit more than they've got cool things. It's, it's run by people who actually give a shit and they're not just money orientated anymore. It's people who
and do you know
listen to
the other thing?
fans.
I was going to say, do you know the other thing I've really noticed after kind of really watching, because AEW was something that I always followed,
Hmm.
but I have missed a show here and there when I haven't had time to watch or whatever.
Yeah.
But I've always followed what's going on. But lately, over the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've watched every episode, as you have, Luke, I
Hmm.
know. And one thing I have noticed is they have an idea for what they're doing. We know they're
Yeah.
really good at long-term storytelling, but they will listen to fans. And if fans sort of go, no, this isn't what we want, they will do something else.
Yeah.
And I think their approach is very different because their approach is about giving the fans what they want,
Yeah.
whereas
Yeah.
WWE's is about let's get the right people in the position so we can make money off of them elsewhere.
Easiest way to put it is AEW is we're going to give you what you want. WWE is we're going to tell you what you want.
Yeah,
And pay-per-view wise, they nail it. They do. Money in the Bank was fantastic. But weekly shows are just dreadful.
yeah,
Absolutely dreadful.
other than
Apart
the
from
Roman Reigns
NXT.
stuff on on SmackDown as well.
Yeah, apart from NXT, which unfortunately sounds
Yes,
like it might be dying.
yeah, which is a shame. That's a
Because
real
they
shame.
apparently are going to be making it kind of back into a developmental thing more so and getting rid of anybody over 30. They only want young guys. They want some bigger guys. They want people that are going to move up to the main roster. So no more Garganos, no more Ciampas, no more Adam Coles, no more stuff like that. If it's true, apparently it's going to have a different look and stuff like that. They could kill their
We'll
best
see.
thing.
We'll see.
If they kill their best thing, it's...
I mean, it's weird because right now, for people who do know a little bit about behind the scenes, it's like the battle of the Khans. Do you know what I mean? It's not even Vince McMahon versus Tony Khan right now.
Except one Khan wants to make the best product and the other Khan wants to make the most money.
Yeah. And neither of them are wrong. I mean, what Nick Khan is doing money-wise probably will help WWE.
No. It will help Vince.
Yeah,
It will help Vince McMahon and shareholders. It's not helping the product.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's not helping the product, but it's helping the company in terms of the money they'll make.
Mm-hmm.
But talking of kind of free agent wrestlers, there is a reason that people might be very excited about AEW soon.
Can I just say though?
Yeah.
The two we're going to talk about aren't the two I'm most excited for.
No, I know. We'll get to what I assume is the one you might be most excited for a bit later on.
Awesome.
But there are two wrestlers that really do need to be talked about because it is almost like Kevin Nash and Scott Hall going to WCW back in the day.
Yeah, it legit is.
It will change the landscape of what is going on.
Yeah.
Assuming that I think at least one of these is definitely happening because of the way they're dealing with it.
It sounds like both.
The other one sounds like it is, but we're not 100% sure on that because they haven't made any comment, they haven't teased anything. Right? Whereas one of them they've very clearly teased.
I think they have actually. The last episode of Dynamite, there were like a couple of like odd comments from like commentary and people. It's like, oh, I got that reference, sort of thing. They're sprinkled in.
So because right now, before we talk about these two guys, actually, there's a couple of things I want to talk about because it sounds like plans might be changing in AEW. We've recently heard that the all-out main event, which was going to be Hangman versus Omega, was changed. We don't know what to yet.
No, we do.
Do we?
Yeah, Christian's number one contender.
Yeah, but do you think his match is going to be at the pay-per-view? Or do you think it'll be something? Because sometimes they do these matches on Dynamite, right? and now that they've got Rampage as well.
I would imagine so, because that's a good point. Rampage. No. We'd know if it was going to be on Rampage by now, I think. Actually.
I mean, Rampage. The first Rampage has the women's title match, right? It has the
Britt
Britt
Baker
Baker
and
Red Velvet.
Red Velvet. I thought that was horribly set up.
Yeah, terrible.
This just.
However, it's clever to have a title match on that first Rampage.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
So,
absolutely. Let's give people value for money,
and it
might not
nice
be the only thing that shows up on the first Rampage.
Yeah, well, I don't know. The second one is the rumor, right?
The second one's a rumor for one of them.
Oh no! You think no way? Surely not.
A brand new show, a brand new flagship show.
Well, so let's get into it. Rampage starts on Friday, which is the 13th.
I'm actually really looking forward to it. I thought I was going to be a bit. Do I need another hour of AEW?
I think 1 extra hour is okay, right? Because it's not. It's easily digestible.
Well, and it's not like WWE where they added the extra hour on to an already boring program.
They tried to, right? The company tried to add an hour onto Dynamite. It sounds like.
Well, this is where this come about. That TNT offered another hour, and then Khan was like, "No, but we'll do a different show."
And I'm assuming that eventually Rampage will get a second hour. Just because if you look back at some old wrestling shows, TNA, for example, WCW, when they first started their shows, they only had an hour. And then they actually got that second hour later on.
I kind of hope not. Because, like, for instance, NXT was at its best when it was an hour.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think, and with the stuff we're doing with Dark and Dark Elevation.
I think the situations are slightly different, right? Because AEW have one hell of a roster. And they have a roster where right now, not everybody who should get time is getting time.
Yeah, not everybody. Well, they're getting time. It's just not necessarily TV time. They're getting time on like Dark and Dark Elevation.
Yeah.
Neither of which
for sure. But yeah, so Rampage starts on the 13th. However, I feel like right now the first Rampage, while interesting, maybe isn't the one people really care about, right?
Which is why I'm kind of like, what if they just slid one in? Because everyone's like, that second one though.
I mean, let's just get to it. Let's deal with the second one first, and we'll come back. So, if you haven't heard, it seems like CM Punk might have signed with AEW for a wrestling return after 7 years, something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
And let's be real. If this happens, and I don't even think it's an if now, I think it's a when, this is going to be the biggest return possibly in the history of wrestling.
It's literally if they were able to convince Stone Cold to come back after,
that's
while he was still
right?
able to wrestle. Like, they have potentially just nailed down the two biggest, maybe outside of Brock Lesnar, the two biggest names that are still capable of wrestling.
See, Brock's an odd one because
imagine if Brock comes as well.
I would say the two names they nailed down are arguably bigger and more effective in the wrestling world. But what Brock would give a company is Brock has that multimedia appeal, right? Because people outside of wrestling
like David
know
Beckham.
who Brock is.
Even people that don't watch football, they know who David Beckham is.
Yeah.
People know who Brock or The Undertaker, that sort of thing. Yeah.
So let's get to it, though. The reason that CM Punk is exciting is, if you don't know, All Out in a few weeks, which is the next AEW pay-per-view, is in Chicago. All of the AEW shows that week are in Chicago. But also the second episode of Rampage, which I believe is about 2 weeks before the pay-per-view, is in Chicago. And they made a big deal of it being in Chicago.
Yeah, they've made a big deal of it. They called it Last Dance, right?
The first dance. The first dance.
And then CM Punk made a reference to the Last Dance, which is with the LeBron thing. And then Living Color liked and followed AEW.
And then they quickly unfollowed them. Very quickly.
Sure. They can and probably will use
They
cult
will be.
personality as well,
Yeah, they will
because
be.
they should. It's awesome. That's just another fuck you to
Um,
WWE.
so I've got.
So a lot of people are really worried because it's like, oh, he hasn't wrestled in 7 years. Neither
He
did
can do it.
Christian.
He can do it.
Christian's been out for 7 years.
And also, shall I tell you
flying.
something? Technically, Punk has wrestled. You just haven't seen him do it.
He didn't wrestle. He hit a GTS.
No. But what I mean is, technically, he has wrestled. Shall I tell you why? Because he's in the new TV series by Stephen Amell, which is a wrestling show.
Sure.
So he would have wrestled in that. You would assume.
Interested. Are they the matches in that off topic? Are they actually working them like a?
I think they are actually doing them. Yeah,
that's cool if they are.
I
that
think
is
they
cool
are
if they
actually.
Are. You know,
from what I can tell, most of the people who are like extras, if you like, in that show, who are the smaller parts, are wrestlers. They are actually wrestlers.
Kind of like Glow. Kind of like Glow was. I never watched Glow. I was meant to.
And then the couple of people that are actors, I think either trained to do some basic stuff, or they have obviously stunt doubles, which will be used.
Or have done some wrestling.
Yeah, in Stephen Amell's case.
Cody Rhodes wanted to sign him, Mel.
Yeah. I mean, he could do it, to be fair.
I reckon he could.
He really could.
Yeah, he could. He could, because he is a monster.
But my point is, I get that it's not normal week in, week out wrestling, but I guarantee you, Punk has been in a ring several times over.
Well, again,
he did the last several
he
years.
did the UFC stuff for a couple of years.
Yeah,
which it's not wrestling, but it's still combat training.
And I also think when you're an athlete, right, you never really lose that. You just have to. It might take him a couple of weeks to get back to his best.
Yeah.
And things like that.
And we've seen Edge do it. We've seen Daniel Bryan come back from injury. Granted, it was only 2 years, not 7. Christian's just come back from 7 years off. It's not impossible.
And Christian is proving week in, week out that he
is.
He can still go. Actually, he can go to the point where nobody's actually upset if Christian's at the top of the card, which is odd.
Because they've done it the right way. They've built it. They haven't just gone, oh, you're coming back, title shot.
So here's a question. Right. That brings me to a good question. Because Punk's a different case, right? Punk almost feels like he should be at the top straight away.
Very much so, but he won't be.
He won't be, but it feels like he should be.
Who should his first few? Yeah, he'll be prominent, but it'll be a while. I don't think he'll be given maybe a couple of months, but who should his first feud be?
Well, here's my question to you before I answer that, because I want to take your perspective on this.
Yep.
He has to come in as a face, right?
Not necessarily.
He can't be a heel, surely. Surely they can't do a return after 7 years and have him be a heel.
I think he's more interesting as a heel.
Yeah, I do.
I think he's better as a heel. I don't know. We'll see. I think he can do either.
Do you know what the weird thing is? There is a part of me that kind of thinks, and it won't happen, but there is a small part of me that kind of thinks his first feud should actually be the other person that they've signed.
No. Absolutely not. They should be kept away from each other for a year.
Okay.
They should not interact. They should not even interact. They should just keep missing each other and then eventually we'll get a match. If one has to be heel.
Yeah.
One of the two has to be heel.
One of them does, but I feel like, especially if you're debuting Punk in Chicago, there's no way he's heel. There's no way Punk is heel.
It's tricky because I want both to be heel. I think they're both fantastic heel. But the way that AEW do it, they're working.
Let's be real. The second wrestler they've signed really is the American Dragon, and he's going to come in under a mask.
Danielson, baby. Nah, it'll be Brian Danielson. It'll be Brian Danielson. He'll come out to the final countdown, which will be awesome.
Do you know what I really would love to happen? Honestly, I was thinking about CM Punk's debut the other day, because this is one thing I'd like to talk about, how we think they're going to debut him, because it's going to happen in the next couple of weeks, right? I genuinely would love to happen that they pull a swerve and his music comes on and then MJF comes out or some shit like that.
Man.
Like, I really would.
So I don't know exactly how I want it to happen, but I
Okay.
want it to be against Darby Allin.
Okay. I mean, they've kind of planted a seed there, right?
Yeah, yeah. I kind of want it to be Darby. I kind of want it to be MJF as well, because those two shit talking each other would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
That would be incredible.
Well, this is the thing in my head. I did kind of wonder because obviously MJF's got the thing going on with Chris Jericho right now, which actually is really
It's probably going to
interesting.
end soon.
It's really interesting, but it's ending pretty soon
Mm.
because Jericho's going through these labors right now. The last match, unfortunately, was tough.
Yeah, it was a tough watch. Hoovy was not up to it. I mean, neither
I'm
of
not
them
going to
were.
blame him too much. I don't know how much
No.
Hoovy's wrestled.
Yeah, I think it's fairly consistent.
And he is an older guy now.
He's younger than Jericho.
Yeah, but they're both quite old, right?
Yeah, he's late
Like,
40s. Jericho's early 50s.
So yeah, so that was a tough watch, but obviously Jericho's next match is Wardlow,
Mm-hmm.
and then you assume he beats Wardlow and faces MJF after that. But
I kind of hope he doesn't. I hope he loses. It'd just be an interesting twist because they've done this before.
You expect
they did this
right?
with Cody.
Yeah,
he did the 5 tasks or whatever the fuck it was,
mm-hmm.
And Cody got through them. So it'd be cool if Jericho just gets killed by Wardlow.
For sure. But what I was thinking is if Jericho goes up against MJF and then MJF beats him again, that then opens up MJF, but it also allows Jericho, because Jericho's going to be commentating on Rampage, for people who don't know. Jericho's actually commentating on Rampage, so maybe he's transitioning to a slightly smaller in-ring role.
He's very good on commentary as well.
Yeah,
when he was doing it during the pandemic era, he was very good. I really enjoyed him.
But I just wonder, like, if you free up MJF and MJF can then say things like, you know, I've beat the best, all these kind of things, and there's an easy in, right, with Punk.
Well, it's very easy because the last thing he says before Punk comes out is "I'm the best in the world," and then Call Personality hits. I don't know. I'm just scrolling through the AEW roster.
I mean, Darby would be a really interesting match.
I think Darby.
I just think it makes less sense. It makes less sense story-wise, though. I think.
I mean, there isn't a story yet. So
no, but that's what I mean. Like, because Darby isn't. You know, no offense to Darby.
I mean,
but they haven't positioned Darby as the best in the world, right? They haven't positioned.
You don't need to. They don't need to. They don't need to.
No, but if it's totally random, it'll be a bit weird, right? It'll be a bit
it's not necessarily random if it's explained afterwards.
That's true.
Like the Sting stuff was. Everyone was like, "Oh, he's going to do stuff with Cody because you know Cody was his favorite wrestler."
Yeah.
But then they paired him with Darby and then explained it, and it made sense.
Yeah.
One of them is going after Omega.
Yeah. What, straight away?
I think they do like the Adam Cole thing where they turned up, took down Drew McIntyre.
Oh yeah.
I would imagine someone's coming in at that sort of top level.
I mean that one has to be Punk, right? Because Brian,
I don't know.
I don't think Brian makes as much sense to be up there straight away.
I'm not sure.
So let's talk about Brian for a minute, and we'll come back to Punk because Punk's the difficult one, I think.
You mean Daniel?
Yeah,
Daniel Bryanson. Yeah, Brian Danielson.
Brian Danielson. Yeah,
Brian Danielson. That's gonna throw me for a minute. I'm just gonna
Brian Danielson, aka Daniel Bryan, to WWE fans.
Yes.
One of the best wrestlers in the world. Someone who apparently Vince McMahon was very upset that they were not able to re-sign. But I think AEW is a good place for him, right? They'll let him go and wrestle where he wants. They'll probably let him wrestle when he wants, to a degree.
Yeah, I mean that's the key. It's being able to wrestle in New Japan. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you know who you should take on?
Who do you think?
You should take out Lance Archer.
What, Bryan Danielson against Lance Archer?
Have you watched any of his old matches?
Yeah, I have, but still.
Dude, nah. He was a fucking brutalist. He would take on people bigger than him and he'd make them his bitch.
Yeah, no, I get it. Do you know what though? I was thinking along a similar lines, but I was thinking someone a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought Miro.
Now, see, I think you immediately go with the New Japan things.
Yeah, to tease that, right? To
Yeah,
tease what could happen there.
And maybe even take that title straight away. Well,
Yeah,
not straight away,
that
but be
could be
like the
interesting.
first sort of thing they do.
That could be interesting. So the rumor I've heard about Bryan is that he won't be debuting until the end of September. I think they've got a show in New York or something. And apparently that's where he's going to debut.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that, yeah.
Which is weird because that suggests to me that maybe Bryan will go straight in at the top. Maybe he's being brought in after All Out.
Well, I mean, you know why he's debuting in New York, right?
Yeah, of course.
That's WWE country.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. And you can't, and I mean, with Punk, it doesn't make sense to debut him anywhere but Chicago, right? If Chicago is doable, that's where you do it, right?
Yeah.
So, because I mean, I think they said that the United Center where they're doing the second episode of Rampage, I think they sold like 10,000 tickets in a couple of minutes because that's how highly anticipated this is. But the weird thing is, going back to Punk for a quick second, I feel like he isn't going to debut on that second episode of Rampage.
Yeah,
I feel like there might be a tease. I feel like there might be something that teases
I think it depends how ready he is to get back in the ring.
Yeah.
Because if he is ready to go...
My thing is, if he's ready, though, if he is ready, okay, so if he is ready and he does come out on that second episode of Rampage, not this Friday, but next Friday, what do you do with him? Because he has to be on the pay-per-view at that point, right?
That's what I mean, yeah. So maybe he's ready at his first match is going to be on that pay-per-view. And then it's just whoever...
But then at that point, it does make me think, that is he coming straight in at the top? Is he going to be, on that second episode of Rampage, are they going to do Christian versus Omega?
No.
And then have... You don't think so?
No.
So you think Christian versus Omega is the Christian. No, because what I was thinking is, do they do the Christian versus Omega match on the second episode of Rampage, and then have Punk come out at the end, and Punk goes against Omega at the pay-per-view?
No,
because you can still have Punk lose that match and have it.
You could, right? But you don't. You don't want to weaken him that quickly, and you also don't want people to go, he's coming straight in.
But you could do dirty finish, right?
You could, but you're also doing that Batista thing or that Edge thing, and
that's true. But with Punk,
people going in that,
I agree. But with Punk, don't you think is a little bit different?
No,
you don't think it's different.
No. AEW are not that silly. AEW will have a plan, and they will. I don't think he goes straight in against Omega, especially when you've got Christian and Hangman, who are both, number one and number two contender. Hangman's still got the story going on.
So you think he goes against Darby, basically?
I wonder.
What you're saying.
I wonder if maybe if the Christian match does happen
before All Out.
Yeah, if it does happen before All Out, if Omega and Hangman is the pay-per-view match, if Punk comes in and costs Hangman the match.
Ooh.
Because he's friends with the Bucks.
Ooh.
So maybe the Bucks bring him in.
Ooh. Yeah, but then they could turn
because
him
you think about
after,
it,
right?
Moxley came in as a heel.
Yeah. But the funny thing is, with Punk, you could do the quick turn and have it make sense. Like, he could cost Hangman the match.
I think it would be far more interesting if it was he comes in, he helps them, but he really wants the title. So
precisely, and that's why I'm saying. That's why I think you could do the really quick turn where maybe he costs Hangman the match, but actually straight after, maybe he gives the GTS to Omega.
Oh, I wouldn't do it that quick.
Or something
I wouldn't
like
do it
that.
that quick.
Or maybe it's like an on the next episode of Dynamite, he does something.
Nah. I wouldn't do it that quick because I want to see.
Oh, you would stretch it, okay?
I would stretch it because I want to see the Bucks and Punk team for a bit. I think that would be
kind
excellent.
of do, but like I just have it in my head that there's no way Punk can be a heel when he first comes in because no one's gonna boo him anyway.
That doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Well, actually, it depends what he does.
Yeah,
it depends what he does.
I think the thing is, right, I think you could have.
But then again, the same thing again happened with Moxley. He was the heel, but he didn't get booed. People loved it because he was beating the shit out of Omega.
He didn't get booed, but then he got booed quickly after, right?
A Punk can do that.
Whereas with Punk, I don't know if that would happen.
It wouldn't happen immediately, but I think they could do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of, if I had to choose between the two,
it's kind of the same with like Reigns. Like people love him, but on the shows they boo him.
Yeah, but
I think
if I had to choose between Bryan Danielson and CM Punk, and only one could be a heel, I would rather have Danielson come in as a heel, personally.
I don't know, because he is a better babyface than Punk is.
You think so?
Absolutely. He absolutely is. He's the one that can take a beating and keep coming and keep coming and keep coming and keep coming.
Do you know what? Punk's that weird one, because actually where Punk is best is when he's a tweener. Absolutely. When he's kind of both at the same time.
Absolutely. He's like his favorite comic book character is the Punisher, and he is a lot like the Punisher.
Yeah.
He is that. Yeah, he plays that middle.
Is there a way then that they can have him be a tweener straight away? You know, could they somehow do? He's a little bit of both.
I don't think you need. I don't think you do it straight away.
Okay.
I mean, I do think they could. I think Punk is more than capable of doing it, and I think AEW writing wise are more than capable of doing it.
For sure.
There's rumors of the trios tag belts potentially.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. That could be
Punk and the Young Bucks would be dope, because
it really would.
I would love to see.
And I do. To be fair, that's an interesting thought, because I do wonder whether in Punk's case, maybe he will sort of be in a trios team for a little bit just to protect him. And I don't mean like that, but I mean while he works off the ring rust.
Yeah.
Because it will take him a few weeks, right?
Yeah.
But now let's talk about Danielson, because I actually think he's a little bit more of an enigma, really. Yes. Because with Punk, you know what they're going to do. You know what they're going to do, even whether it's done quickly or whether it's done long term, you kind of know what's going to happen with Punk. Because Punk, at some point, should be the face of that company, because he has that, right?
Potentially.
Danielson can be, but he also doesn't need to be. That's the difference. Like, I don't know if he...
Yeah.
As the face of the company, I don't think he would add as much to the company itself as Punk would. And that's not me putting Danielson down. I think he's great, amazing wrestler. But I watched an interesting video. I think it was a What Culture video, where they were talking about how the thing about Punk is he perfectly represents what the AEW culture is.
Yeah.
So he already represents the company, and he arguably, some people would say,
isn't that so perfect as to why he should be a heel?
You're not gonna let it go, are you, Luke?
But is that not exactly what is that not exactly Punk though?
Yeah, no.
Like, this is everything this company is. It's everything you are, but fuck it, flip it. It's far more interesting.
Yeah,
I honestly don't know. I think either could come in as either.
Yeah, for sure.
I would love Danielson to come in and just
we've talked a bit about Punk, and I think that if I put it this way, if I was to give you three options, I do think there are three options for Punk, and I think neither of them is bad. I think they would all get good reactions, but they all mean different things
Yeah.
long term, right? I think your three options are you somehow get to MJF,
Mm-hmm.
and that way Punk would be a face, but he's not immediately at the top,
Mm.
and that works. Maybe you do the Darby Allin thing, and you have Punk come in and say that he, wanted to test himself against the best again, and maybe he thinks Darby Allin is the best.
Or it's one of those kind of like Sting does, where he's like, I see a lot of me in you, sort of thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. And then I do think the other option is Omega straight away, and I do think AEW are clever enough to make that work if that was the route they wanted to go.
I think the only issue with that is earning that.
Yeah.
I don't think just coming in and it's not that I don't think it's being a big name and coming in doesn't get you a title shot. We've seen that with Moxley, we've seen that with Christian and stuff like that. You do have to build to that.
And that's why I wonder whether it's going to be somewhere between those three options, where probably Darby Allin will be the first match.
It'll be
but
whatever
maybe
he does
Omega is what he does after, right?
Yeah, it'll be high profile, and it'd be kind of like Christian, where he's like, "Yeah, I'm coming for that," sort of thing.
Yeah. But then we talk about Bryan Danielson.
Yeah.
Who sounds like he's coming in a little bit later.
Yep.
Weirdly, he could come in right now, from what I understand. He could technically come in right now, but maybe they're just kind of letting him have time, and maybe they think it's better to do him after Punk because everyone's waiting for Punk right now.
I wonder if he debuts in New Japan first.
No, surely
have
not.
They got?
Surely not.
Have they got any American shows? I know they've got an American brand.
They've got an American show coming up, right? There is one.
Is that before the New York
I think
show?
it is before. Yeah, I think it is.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the Forbidden Door and all that.
I mean, it's not forbidden anymore. It's just wide open.
Yeah.
Dixie Carter just turned up in Ring of Honor.
Yeah. When is that other door that's over there on its own gonna open? That's what I want to know.
When Vince retires. Assuming Triple H hasn't walked by then, because he must be so angry.
Because I mean, the funny thing is, right, just for a little quick aside for a second, talking about this stuff, Tony Khan wants that door to be open, right?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't really care about beating WWE. That's not what he's trying to do.
Nope. It's only WWE that thinks that. It's only Vince McMahon and those kind of people. Not even Triple H thinks like that.
Do you know what the funny thing is, though?
Probably.
Him thinking like that will lead to it happening, I think. It will lead to a situation where, it's like we were saying earlier. They're about to bring in two of the best wrestlers ever that are still at an age where they can add something meaningful to the product and to the company. It is a Scott Hall and Kevin Nash to WCW situation, and it will immediately affect how many people watch AEW. Whether they can then sustain that viewership bump that they will get remains to be seen.
They already have. Like their viewership has gone up, and it is plateauing there. They are keeping it at that consistent level.
But interestingly, they are still quite a way behind the main WWE shows, right?
Overall, yes.
In certain demographics, they're not. Yeah.
In the most important,
I think it's 18
one.
to 49, right?
Yeah,
and 18
and
to 49, they actually
win.
Well.
I don't know if they win, but they are very.
I think they do. I think they beat them, or at least there's been a few weeks where they've beat them in that demographic.
Sure.
And they were easily kind of beating NXT every week.
It was so stupid to put NXT in that position. So dumb.
But they are. AEW right now hasn't connected with the casual audience, right?
No, it will take. It's the same as TNA.
It's probably another year or two, right?
I think it just takes the
Or
right
could it be
faces.
6 months?
I don't know. I think it just takes the right faces. You know,
Yeah.
TNA, it was, you know, Kurt Angle got so many people in.
I mean, Punk's going to bring some of that, right? You would assume.
Punk's going to bring a lot of people in, yeah. Yeah, no.
And then Brian's an
Brian
odd
will as
one
well.
because I know he will, but I always think to myself, how much will he though? How much do people
He'll bring in a lot.
really?
No, he'll bring in a lot because there are a lot of people, or you know, a lot of people that do not like CM Punk for numerous reasons, whether it's inside the ring, outside the ring, what have you.
Do you
But
know?
they
Do you
love
know the
Daniel Bryan.
one? Do you know the one thing that does make me laugh?
Mm.
Like genuinely laugh about other wrestling fans, and I don't mean it in a disrespectful way. I just find it quite funny. Is that people went from, oh, we want Punk to come back all the fucking time, to basically, oh, just fuck off, CM Punk.
I don't think it was they went
to now. Oh, now we're happy because it's actually happening.
Yeah, no. I don't think it. I think there's a different fan bases. I don't think it was, you know, people. There are definitely some people who have been like, "Ah, fine, screw you," but then they've wisened up and actually been like, "Oh, actually, no, WWE suck."
Yeah,
Once they actually hear all the stuff that actually happened behind the scenes, and
but also I think people just got fed up with hearing CM Punk all the time and it never happening, right? Because there have been rumors over the years of, oh, he's going to be here or whatever, and it's never happened. It's never materialized. But I just find it funny, I guess, how human beings, all of us, to be clear, every single person, as a fan of something, we can be so fickle and we can change our minds so quickly about what we think.
Yeah, humans are. But that's the thing. It's new evidence is brought to light constantly, and then opinions change based on new evidence, sort of thing.
Yeah,
so
true.
It's not necessarily a bad thing.
So let's talk now about Danielson's first feud, because we've talked about the options for Punk.
Okay.
We've talked a little bit about Danielson, and you know, we'd like to see him maybe go against Archer, or I mentioned Miro as another possibility if you want to do the big man thing. But I think there's a lot of possibilities for him, right?
Yeah, Miro's an interesting one, I think.
He almost has more options than Punk, I would say.
Potentially.
Because I think that,
I don't know. I actually think Punk may have more because he was out for a long time.
Yeah, whereas so you could ease him in even more, right?
Well, it's more that Brian's gone up against some of these people a lot more recently, for instance, so like your Miros and stuff like that.
What do you think about? What do you think about? I don't know why this one even popped into my head, but there's two names that just popped into my head in relation to possibly Danielson, and it was Eddie Kingston and John Moxley. And I was thinking to myself, like, what if somehow he gets involved with one of those guys? That could be an interesting little scrap.
I was kind of thinking Moxley for Punk, honestly.
Okay.
Because Punk always wanted that Ambrose feud.
Yeah.
But he never properly
happened,
got it.
Right. Yeah.
So I think Moxley Punk could be an
interesting
interesting
one. And also the thing about Moxley is, as Moxley, he is Ambrose turned up, right? Like Ambrose was okay, but Moxley is let loose. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. As are a lot of people that have gone over to AEW. Like Miro is just.
Do you know? I'm sorry. Do you know who I would love for Danielson? Jungle Boy.
See, I keep looking at Jungle Boy.
Looking
at Jungle Boy. The only problem is, whoever they come up to has to lose.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? For both of these guys.
But I think with Jungle Boy, that's fine because he's disgustingly young.
Yeah.
So and is MJF.
And also, do you know what the funny
what
thing
about Sammy Guevara?
Ooh, that would be an interesting one.
That'd be sick. Because the inner circle's splitting soon, I think.
Going back to Jungle Boy for a second, the interesting thing about the way they are building him and the way they have built him so far, I actually think it's been one of the most clever builds in the history of wrestling, because I don't think a loss hurts him.
No.
I think actually losing kind of helps his build. It helps the way they're
Yeah,
building
like the
him.
loss against Kenny
Yeah,
really helped because he just kept going, kept going, and kept going.
they're so like the
It's the same.
more.
It's the exact same thing with Darby and MJF for that matter, except MJF's obviously heel.
Yeah.
They're very good at building these very young people.
Do you know the
Very
one
clever.
thing I was thinking about MJF though the other day
Mm.
is, don't get me wrong, you can be the one character and be massively successful as that. John Cena's proven that, whatever. But I was thinking to myself, can MJF ever be a face? And I don't know if he can. Like from
Yeah, you go.
everything, I don't. First of all, I think it's because I don't know how you ever get there if you wanted to
You
go
just
there.
do the exact same thing just against heels.
Oh yeah, true.
You literally just do the exact same thing just against heels.
True.
So
Just because he strikes me as someone who's going to be a massive star, right? And your massive stars at one point or another, you tend to want them to be a baby
I think
face.
out of their 3 rising stars,
Yeah.
Alan, him, and
Jungle Boy.
MJF is the next AEW champion out of the 3.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I think Alan
I
next in
think
that line
that
potentially,
by the end of next year, MJF will at least have had a shot at the belt.
yeah. If Kenny was face, I would say that MJF was the one that was going to take it off of him.
Yeah.
But again,
it's gonna be that's gonna be Hangman, right? You assume.
You'd assume. But they could swerve it. And it could not be Hangman.
So I want to talk about something else, AEW, for a second,
Mm-hmm.
which will lead us on to other names that might be coming in that I think you're excited about.
There's actually 2. I've just remembered another one.
But what I want to talk about, because I heard a little conversation the other day about how is AEW just going to be another WCW, another TNA, where they kind of pick up the guys that WWE don't really want and they make them into stars, but they're only stars because that company is smaller, and it's like, no. I just don't think that's going to be a thing.
It's not, because
there's someone in particular that I look at that was released by WWE very, very recently, in a shock, I think, and that is Bray Wyatt, also known as Wyndham Rotunda. That guy, to me, has to go to AEW. He doesn't have to, but like, he would be let loose so much over there, and this is where I think it's different. Is they're not bringing in these WWE guys and using them as WWE guys. No. They're making them into AEW guys.
I don't even necessarily think they're making them into AEW guys, because we've seen it with like Matt Cardona and stuff like that, where they'll pop in for a bit and then they'll go off and do other stuff, places, and be really successful.
But they're letting them be what they want to be, right?
Exactly. That's the thing. Ironically, WWE is currently WCW.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones with the terrible fucking angles. They're the ones that are spending stupid money. They're the ones that are letting people go because people are unhappy. Andrade, Aleister Black, now Malachi Black.
And then re-signing people like Selena Vega and just kind of destroying her for no reason.
So, perfect example. I can't remember where I saw it. I think it was on Twitter somewhere, but someone did a WWE, I think it was of the the AEW rankings.
Yeah, the rankings. Yeah,
so
I saw it. It was on Twitter.
Selena Vega is in the title picture. She hasn't won a single match yet. She's 3-0 loss-wise. Like she hasn't won a single match.
It doesn't make any sense, right? Sometimes what they do just doesn't make sense.
They're just putting people in.
And don't get me wrong. One of my criticisms of AEW would actually be the win and loss thing to a certain degree, because I think they almost adhere to it too much, in my opinion, at times.
I don't know.
Where it's like, Christian is top of the win-loss thing right now or whatever. And it's like...
But they make it make sense.
It does make sense. And it makes sense within the context of their company. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think it's a bad thing, to be clear. I just think it loses something from wrestling that WWE still has, and that is the idea that almost like anyone can come and be a challenger at any time, and it just it it's less
See,
random, which is positive, but it's also sometimes that randomness is a good thing because sometimes that's where you strike the gold, right?
um, no,
Okay,
I'm
interesting.
not with you on this one. I think I think they're doing it the right way. We saw it a bit with SmackDown when Daniel Bryan was GM or commissioner or whatever the
Mm-hmm.
fuck they were doing,
Mm-hmm.
and they did the ranking stuff. Um, that made sense because it you could see where it was. And perfect example of how it's still very interesting
Yeah.
is Hangman was that close. Then he
Yeah.
lost a match and he gets leapfrogged. And now he's further away again, so he's got to keep
That's
fighting. He's got to
true,
keep
and
going.
that's what I mean. It does. Don't get me wrong. I'm not arguing that it makes sense, and I'm not arguing that it's not interesting.
Mm.
But I think it does lose the potential for that surprise element
I
because
don't think it does because
because
they've
you
got other
always
avenues for
sort of
that.
know where they're going, right? You always
Yeah,
sort of know where they're going.
I don't necessarily think so because I think there are
Do you
other
think? Do you
avenues for
think
that.
that yeah? I was going to say, do you think that the surprises can come outside of the title picture, right? Like that's the
Well,
difference
that's the
with
thing.
AEW.
Like, title opportunity shouldn't be a surprise. They should
No.
be earned. They shouldn't just be,
Yeah.
oh, you're Bill Goldberg. Here's a title match.
Yeah, no,
Here's
for
a thing.
sure. But then you do get the things like so without those surprises, right? And I'm just using this
Mhm.
as a kind of springboard for what I'm thinking because it's not the best comparison. But I think of something like look at the Kofi Kingston situation in WWE. They made that into a story that made sense, but that wouldn't have happened without the randomness element.
But he earned that shot.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
wasn't straight. It wasn't a 1 month thing where they came in and you get a title match now.
true,
It was, you did really well here. You did really well here. We made you win these matches on a consistent basis. And then you finally got your one-on-one shot sort of thing.
true,
It
true.
wasn't straight. No, you'll do,
Yeah, yeah,
which
no, I
is
know
what it
what you
feels
mean.
like.
I
John
know what you
Cena,
mean.
come back. Goldberg, come back.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Jinder Mahal.
When they to be fair, when they do it in that context, yes, I agree with
Mhm.
you. I
But
guess that my point is more that I don't always want to see who the next guy coming is. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I want it to
um,
be a surprise
but
because
I think you'll get that in like the battle royal thing they do and stuff like
yeah,
that.
that's true. That's true.
As cool as it is to have a surprise competitor and a surprise win, you never want that for the champion because that if someone comes straight in and beats the champion like that
Yeah.
without earning anything, it lessens that champion, their reign, and the title belt.
True.
Where the world title, all your titles should be the most important
But
things.
you could have them beat the champion without it being a championship match,
Sure.
right? You like that's the I don't know. I think
But that should be very rare.
what is quite clever, to be fair, about AEW is I think that they've got a decent amount of championship belts without
Mm.
having too many,
Mm-hmm.
but they've also because they have that TV title, the TNT Championship.
Mm.
That is the one that I think does allow them to do the
See, I really
WWE
think
thing.
that should have to be defended every week.
Yeah, that would be interesting. That
I
would
think
be
they should do
interesting.
the US title thing because that was awesome.
Um,
I really think every Dynamite or every Rampage,
there
because
is
that's on
one
TNT.
thing. There is one thing storyline wise that's really interesting me right now in
Mm-hmm.
AEW, and that is the fact that Cody and Malachi Black are kind of doing this thing, and maybe Cody was retiring.
Okay, so I love the idea. I loved it up until Cody got on a microphone
Okay.
because it took away from Malachi's Black. I think.
Do you think it would have taken away from him if it was legitimate though, and Cody was actually finishing?
Yeah.
Really?
Save it to next week. Let
Interesting.
Malachi have his moment. He just
I mean,
took the head off of Cody.
Cody's not going though, right?
No, he's not. He's going. Well, he is. He's going to record a show again,
Yeah.
which is what happened with the Brody Lee thing, which had a way better hook. But him going away also means that he's not going to be the first competitor for Bryan or Punk. So
True.
that would be great.
The
Honestly,
funny thing is though, do you know what? I go up and down on Cody because I do actually
he needs to come back heel.
I love Cody. I think he's great.
Yeah.
But there's almost too much of Cody sometimes.
He needs to come back heel.
Yeah.
If he was doing everything he was heel, there would be nothing wrong with it. The
Yeah.
problem is he's doing it as a face. He's, I'm on the AEW roster page still, and I'm looking at Anthony Ogogo.
Yeah.
Should have lost to Ogogo. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
He should come back as a heel.
I know what you mean.
Maybe even wind it into the story where Malachi Black's kick corrupted him or something like that, or he's sick of waiting in the wings.
So I do want to get to something to end the show in a minute. But let's have a quick word on Malachi Black and Andrade as well, actually, because they've got Andrade, who's also come in from WWE. Two amazing signings, first of all.
Oh yeah.
Two that they've handled very, very well. The Andrade stuff is really interesting. Bringing in Chavo to kind of play that role is masterful.
Way better than Vicky Guerrero, I think.
I mean, Vicky's
fantastic.
Was fine. That worked.
Yeah, I think her work with Nia Rose is more important.
Yeah.
Him and Chavo. Perfect.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm not sure how I feel about the Lucha Bros stuff.
Yeah, the Death Triangle thing they're doing.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it could potentially make sense if he does get a faction.
Do you know what kind of sparked in my brain earlier? Is maybe the Lucha Bros do turn on Pac at some point. They go heel, and then they are your first kind of 3-man tag team champions.
Maybe
that could be cool if they go that
still
way.
Call them Death Triangle though, because it's dope in Spanish.
Yeah.
Triangulo de la Muerte. Sick. And Pac's always been the odd one out, and I kind of feel bad for Pac because
he's fine on his own though, right?
He's fine on his own, sure, but he needs to be used more.
Yeah.
Because Pac is dope.
Well, to be fair, I think that some of it was for a while he wasn't actually signed with the company, right?
For a while he wasn't, because he was Dragon Gate champion, and he got stuck here in the UK.
Yeah, he did.
Couldn't actually get over there during the pandemic, which was a big thing. But he's always treated like he's a big deal, so
yeah,
I'm sure his time will come.
And then on Malachi Black, I think actually putting him with Cody straight away was really clever.
I think straight killing him was great.
Yeah.
I think just kick foot on the chest. I
kind of wish that he would have just kicked him straight away and not done the really quick finish.
Yeah. That could have been cool. I love the way that match went, but it should have ended.
Do you know what I love about it? And again, this is something that AEW allows that WWE never does because they're too worried about, advertising and shit like that. Malachi Black is basically Aleister Black turned up to 100. It's basically a much darker version of Aleister Black. It feels like what the man himself probably wanted Aleister Black to be, right?
Yeah, so I haven't listened to his Talk is Jericho thing yet, but I've listened to, I can't remember what else it was, but he was talking about how all three of his characters are one character. Tommy End got he got possessed by the devil, and that's
almost like the Finn Balor type thing, right?
Not quite. It's almost like the Bray Wyatt thing.
Okay, interesting.
Where Tommy End was a character, but then Tommy End got he got inspired by the devil, or possessed by the devil, and that's what Aleister Black was. And then that short that he did that was on Instagram and YouTube and stuff like that is how they kind of frame all that as a mental episode, even though probably wasn't. It might have all been his head, but maybe wasn't, and that's where Malachi Black comes from. So it's a continuous. He's not just being like, no, Aleister Black never existed. It's a continuous thing, and he might not be the only other one that's doing it, because there is someone else that I'm very excited about.
Yeah, so come on, Luke.
Who did you think it was? You thought I was going to say someone specifically.
Well, I thought you were going to go down the Bray route. I thought you were thinking that's where Bray was.
No. Today, I saw Buddy Murphy has released a teaser.
Oh, okay.
It's just him in a prison uniform, and he's doing that against the wall. You can't see his face.
I feel like Murphy's going to Impact though.
I don't care where he goes. I am just excited.
Yeah,
I love Murphy.
Do you know what
I honestly think he'll be in AEW because Kenny wants that match.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Kenny said
Kenny
said that he's his dream match, which is mad.
Wow.
I am so excited for Murphy. And the other person I'm excited for is Ruby Soho, or Ruby Riot.
Yes.
Because she is a huge name. And the women's division
that would help a women's division.
Because Britt Baker is carrying that on her back.
Yeah.
Currently.
And it's pretty hard. You can see, know. It's
like they've got a lot of good talent, but they haven't got that. They haven't got a John Moxley. They haven't got
else while they build everyone else up, right? Yes. That's the problem. Is they're in Ruby the building phase right now, but they need. It's different with the men's division because they are building their stars in the men's division, but they also had ready-made stars.
Yeah.
With the women's division, they need to build it up, and they are doing. If we're being honest, they're doing a good job of it. It's just that they don't have enough stars in that women's division.
Yeah, they're not giving them as much screen time as they probably need. Like
hopefully
we're seeing
Rampage will help with that.
Yeah, hopefully. We need to see more than just Britt Baker and whatever she's doing.
Yeah. But I do think where we should end this conversation, because we're talking about people coming in, people moving places. Mm-hmm. I think what we should do is maybe just put out 3 names that in an ideal world, if they're available, only available wrestlers right now, that we'd like to see come into AEW that we think can add something to what they have, rather than just take somebody's spot. So yeah, where would you like to go with that?
Adam Cole.
Sounds like it could happen.
Sounds like it may happen. Although apparently he's rejected them, but I don't know where that's come from.
Interesting.
Who else? Not.
I mean, for me, the immediate one is Bray, because
sure.
I think that I look at Bray, right? I assume he wants to carry on wrestling, and I don't think he fits anywhere else. And what I mean by that is, don't get me wrong, Bray can make any company work, right? But I can't really see him in New Japan.
I could see him in Impact.
I could see him in Impact, but I just, with no disrespect to Impact, I almost think he's too big of a star.
Honestly, Kenny being their champion is hurting them.
Yeah.
Unless he was there every week, which he's not. It's hurting them. I think it's a really weird. AEW are getting the benefit of this.
It's a clever story, but it's
for AEW, not for.
But
Impact.
Do you know what I would say? It is clever for AEW, but it depends. I want to see it play out, because actually the way it plays out could help Impact in the end.
Potentially, yeah. It could make someone, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would quite like to see Bray and Bo.
Bray and Bo, okay.
Maybe be a tag team for a bit. That would be cool. Because
did you see that he's got? What is it he's put on his Instagram? He's put something like
who?
The Wyndham Cult or something. So
Bray or Bo?
Yeah, Bray. Bray's put something like the Wyndham Cult or something as a tagline on his Instagram, and people I saw it on What Culture. They were talking about it, and yeah, I just wonder. Like, it would be nice to see them together for sure.
Cult of Wyndham coming soon.
Yes, the Cult of Wyndham.
Interesting.
Um,
Imagine if
but you know, this is the one. This is the one that I actually think people are overlooking because of how this wrestler was used previously. But Braun Strowman, to
so.
me,
Actually, let's reel it in a second. I was literally about to say, imagine if the Wyndham Cult or the Cult of Wyndham is Bray, Bo, Strowman.
oh my god. uh,
Imagine if it is a
yeah,
cult, because
yeah,
as much as I love the Fiend, I'd love for him to go back to cult leader.
yeah,
I
for
love cult
sure.
leader Bray,
So would I. But
because it just didn't get the light it deserved.
But do you know what I love about Strowman and why I'd actually love him in AEW? Is I think he does add something to AEW that they don't currently have. And
They don't really have that big guy.
and don't get me wrong, they've got Archer, who is big, but he's not that big.
But
right?
he's not an attraction. He's not like an Andre. He's not a Big Show. He's a big powerhouse.
And also the thing about Strowman is, if you actually go back and watch some of Strowman's matches,
he's got way better.
He is a good wrestler.
Yeah, he's got way better.
Like, he is a good wrestler. He knows how to protect people as well. Like, you know, the guy knows what he's doing. But also for a big man, he is pretty quick. He's not as agile as, say, Brock Lesnar, but he's pretty quick for big man standards. Yeah. He's way quicker than someone like the Big Show or you know, similar athletes. And I think it would be really interesting because he would add a dynamic to their roster that they don't currently have. And I think what Bray would add and what Bo would add, if it was all three of them, is you would then have a character, not just in terms of an individual character, but in terms of a stable character that would be something they don't currently have. So that would be really interesting. And I feel like it's weird, right? Because at one point, Tony Khan was actually saying they weren't going to sign that many more people because they have a full roster and everything like that.
But I don't think they expected to be as popular as they have been, or do as well as they have been.
True.
Like, they've already been offered another show. Like, that's so much more money.
And I also think as well, right? I think that Tony Khan is probably clever enough to know that if certain wrestlers are available, you take them while they're available because you might not get another chance.
All right. I've got two more.
Go on.
I want Fandango and Tyler Breeze. I want the Fashion Police to turn up because they're funny. They're fucking great in the ring. And they just didn't get the time they deserve. They would be fantastic additions.
So let's end on what could potentially happen for the Fashion Police. Okay. If they were by some miracle to come into AEW, because I actually think for them, Impact makes more sense in my head.
I think they could just float around. I think that would be fun.
But if they were to come into AEW, what the hell would you do with them? Like, that's my question.
Fashion Police. Can you remember the Fashion Files?
I can, but
they were funny as hell.
What would they, how would you even fit it in?
So, okay. And this isn't just out of my ass, right? Like, there are links. Like, Fandango and Cody are friends. Breeze and Spears have a wrestling school.
Yeah.
There are links. So they're obviously older guys. They're not going to be top stars. They can do well in tag division. They're great trainers.
I've just thought of something. I apologize. Don't mean to cut you off.
Go.
What if there is basically some sort of attack backstage and they come in as private investigators type thing? They're just like, trying to figure out what happened. And then it leads to, like, we've got the Dax Hardwood and whatever his name is, I forget his name.
Cash Wheeler
and Dax Hardwood against Santana and Ortiz right now. and that's getting quite spicy, I would say. That feud.
Oof, man, his arm. Poor
What
bastard.
if there is some sort of attack backstage where one of them, like really bad, like they make it bad?
Honestly, I wouldn't have them wrestle for a minute. I would have them literally coming up in backstage skits.
Yeah, this is what I mean.
Like
that's what I was just thinking.
Like imagine, say, Proud and Powerful are they're doing an interview, but then you cut to it and you're like, something's going on backstage, and they're being arrested, and it pans up, and they're just being arrested by
I know.
Breeze and Dango.
And this is what I mean. That's why I think
like,
a backstage attack angle would be an amazing way to do it if you were to bring those guys in.
I don't think you attack. I think it's like, what the hell's going on? It's like, have you seen what they're wearing?
What is actually happening?
This is why they're being arrested. Okay, so my two dreams.
Okay.
I have a dream match in my head, and I want to see it, is the Usos. I want the Usos versus the Bucks.
Oh my god.
Because that would be outstanding.
Okay.
Actually, saying that, I want the Bloodline versus the Elite. That'd be sick.
That would be cool. So I'm going to end it on one question here, and then we are going to go, because we're just over an hour currently.
Cool.
One question is, I feel like one thing that Impact, AEW, and New Japan are all building to is some sort of super card, right?
100%.
It's some sort of super event where there will be cross-promotional matches.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Kenny ends up with the NWA title at some point.
Okay.
Can you imagine?
And then NWA are in on it as well.
If there's like 4 matches in a row where Kenny has to defend each title.
Oh my god.
And he retains some of them, but he'll lose the rest.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. That would be such a cool story to tell.
It would. But
I'm with you.
But this is the thing, is like, what I wanted to ask is, if they get to this inevitable supercard, how... Obviously, the biggest wrestling event right now is WrestleMania. Like, without doubt, WrestleMania, regardless of what you think of WWE, every year that is the biggest wrestling event. Even lapsed fans come back in for WrestleMania, all that sort of stuff. How big do you think a supercard event could be? I know it wouldn't necessarily be massive for the more casual audience, but if you have 4 different audiences all tuning into this event, how big do you think it could be? Do you think it could be almost like a WrestleMania for these potentially 4 companies together, creating like their own WrestleMania of sorts?
I think it could be huge, because it would, WWE is all about, this is a first, that this is happening. But these would literally be a situation where you would have dream matches. Every year you could have matches you'd never thought you'd see. I mean, we just had Nick Gage versus Chris Jericho.
And also, the thing is, the thing about them doing this and the way they're doing it is, it's not just a one-off event, right?
No.
Like, they're doing stories. They're doing... The fact that Tony Khan is even letting Kenny Omega work as many dates in as many companies as he does is ridiculous to me, because what if he shows up on Impact and breaks his ankle? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, he doesn't wrestle all that much.
No,
they could keep doing that.
But
so
I think there is a match coming up on Impact for him, because Frankie Kazarian weirdly showed up on Impact recently as well.
Yeah, people are thinking he's going to be one to beat Omega for the 2
Impact
world titles. I was thinking, quick tangent, I was thinking about this the other day. I really hope whoever wins the Impact titles back merges them together and brings back the original TNA title.
Yeah, that would be great.
Because that thing was beautiful. And the 2 titles they have currently are fucking hideous.
I agree.
They're hideous. Really quickly.
Go on.
The Iconics have to come.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't care where, but they have to.
Don't care where. They got to be somewhere. They will be somewhere soon.
Oh, they will.
I feel like AEW makes the most sense, given that one of them is literally married to Shawn Spears. You think it'd be really?
They have women's tag titles.
True.
And I think they do great there.
Yeah, true.
I think they do great.
So we will be back next week.
Mm,
You are probably seeing this episode on Wednesday.
yes.
But this one, it obviously doesn't matter so much if it's a little bit later because we're not actually recapping anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
but in
Whereas next
future,
week, 2
yeah,
shows to recap.
yes. So we are aiming for Wednesdays at some point. So look out for that. Obviously, subscribe to the channel and click the bell to get notifications of when the videos will go up and things like that. Put your comments down below about how you're feeling about CM Punk and Bryan Danielson coming in, because I think
Mhm.
that's very exciting times. And actually, I like to leave people with a question on these kind of shows. So the question I'm going to leave the viewers with and the listeners is, who would you like to see CM Punk wrestle first? Because I think that's a good one.
Mm.
So without further ado, this has been the Pro Wrestling Power Hour, and we will see you next time for a recap of AEW and the first episode of Rampage, which is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, very exciting.
And then future plans are we will be covering SummerSlam, I suspect. So look out for that as
Yeah. I
well.
would imagine we'll be doing all the WWE pay-per-views or the NXT pay-per-views, maybe even an Impact
Yeah.
pay-per-view every now and again because
And
they're
also, do
quite
you know
important
what?
now.
This is still quite new to us, so if anyone has any suggestions about what they'd like to see from us, then
Yeah, if
please
there's
put them
another
down
place we want
below.
to cover. Like,
Um,
I'd honestly be quite interested in looking into NWA a bit more because they've got
yeah,
some very
for sure.
interesting people over
And
there.
that's easily accessible as well. Given that it's basically on YouTube. It's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So yes, I hope you've enjoyed this. I suppose we're kind of the all elite power hour. Kind of.
Yeah, I'd imagine that's what we'll call the AEW stuff we do, and then when we do WWE one, that'll be
So
that sort of
subscribe
thing.
for
But yeah.
all that good stuff, and we will see you next time. Thank you and goodbye.